Hey everyone! Today we're exploring another chilling and disturbing case. If you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay engaged. It really means a lot. I truly appreciate it. Now, take a deep breath and let's dive in. She told her doctor everything. Her fears, her secrets, her pain. He was the only man she trusted after escaping her abusive ex. But what she didn't know was that he was sleeping with the man she feared most, and that together they were planning her death. In the quiet suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina, Nicole Harris was trying to rebuild her life. She'd finally divorced her manipulative ex-husband. She had a new home, a young daughter, and a doctor she trusted. But what started as a path to healing would end in betrayal so chilling it made national headlines. Nicole Harris was just 31 years old, a devoted mother, a respected social worker, a woman who had spent her entire life saving others, abused women, abandoned teens, broken families. But behind closed doors, she was nursing wounds of her own. She had recently separated from Marcus Enders, a well-known youth pastor and real estate developer. To the public, Marcus was a man of faith. Behind the curtain, he was controlling, vindictive, and violent. Nicole had confided in friends, even in her journal, that she feared for her life. So when she began seeing a new physician, Dr. Adam Keller, she finally felt safe. He listened. He prescribed her medication. He offered her comfort. But what she didn't know was that every secret she shared in that clinic was making its way back to her ex-husband. And the man she trusted to heal her was the same man planning how she'd die. On the evening of September 4th, 2018, Nicole vanished. She had just dropped her daughter, Maya, off at her mother's house. She said she was going to run a quick errand. She never came back. The next morning, her car was found parked neatly outside a strip mall. Her phone was still in the cup holder, her purse untouched, but Nicole was gone. 3 days later, her body was discovered in a wooded area just 10 miles from her ex-husband's church. She had been drugged, strangled, and carefully buried, as if someone had taken their time. But what chilled investigators most was a cocktail of sedatives in her system. Drugs that weren't street-made. They were prescription grade. And not just any prescriptions. They matched the exact medications Dr. Keller had recently written for her. Police first looked at Marcus Enders. His bitter divorce with Nicole had left a trail of threats, voicemails, and public arguments. But he had an alibi. He was preaching at a youth retreat the night Nicole disappeared. That alibi held, but something else didn't. Nicole had been keeping a journal. In it, she wrote about how her doctor had been acting strange. He'd started calling her late at night, showing up to appointments unannounced, offering to help her disappear from Marcus forever. She wrote, "Sometimes I wonder if Dr. Keller is the only one I can trust, or if he's just another man pretending." That sentence would crack the case wide open. Phone records revealed dozens of late-night calls between Dr. Keller and Marcus Enders, some as long as an hour, others within minutes of Nicole's appointments. Digging deeper, police obtained search warrants for Keller's financials. That's when they found it. A $250,000 wire transfer from Marcus Enders to a private LLC, one registered under Dr. Keller's girlfriend's name. But that's not all. Buried in Keller's phone was a folder labeled Me. Inside were intimate photos, explicit messages, and videos of Dr. Keller and Marcus Enders together, not just friends, lovers. The truth was worse than anyone imagined. Nicole wasn't just being stalked by her ex. She was being monitored by him, through the man she trusted with her life. The community was stunned. A pastor and a doctor, conspiring in secret, bound by lust and greed. Prosecutors uncovered a $500,000 life insurance policy Nicole had forgotten change after the divorce. Marcus was still the sole beneficiary. Dr. Keller had just paid off his condo, half in cash. The case was airtight until Keller made a shocking move. He agreed to testify, but not against Marcus. He claimed he was a victim, that Marcus had threatened him, blackmailed him, that Keller tried to protect Nicole, but Marcus had already decided. And then, just days before the trial, Dr. Keller disappeared. His car was found abandoned at a highway rest stop. His phone, wallet, and ID still inside. No signs of struggle. No blood. No body. And the last message sent from his phone was to Marcus Enders. It read, "She never deserved what we did, but now it's your turn to carry the weight." Dr. Adam Keller was gone. No security footage. No credit card activity. No witnesses. Just a cold car and a quiet rest stop and a cryptic final message. Investigators weren't sure what to think. Had Keller fled out of guilt? Or had Marcus Enders, the ex-husband, the pastor, the supposed man of God, silenced him before he could speak in court? Without Keller's testimony, the prosecution's case began to unravel. Marcus's lawyers pounced. "My client is a victim of homophobic conspiracy, a grieving ex-husband smeared by lies and doctored messages. There is no murder weapon, no physical evidence, and no credible witness." The judge ruled half the digital evidence inadmissible. And just like that, the man everyone believed orchestrated Nicole Harris's death walked out of court. Free. Nicole's mother, Angela Harris, refused to stay silent. At a press conference, she held up her daughter's worn leather journal, tears streaking down her face. She told her doctor she feared her ex-husband. She begged for help. She begged for protection. And now she's dead. And the only two men who could answer for it are gone. One buried her and the other vanished. Nicole's daughter, Maya, only 5 when her mother was killed, began having recurring nightmares. In one of them, she told her grandmother, "Mommy said someone was watching us from the trees." Angela believed Nicole had known she was being followed, and new footage seemed to confirm it. 3 weeks after Keller disappeared, police obtained outdoor surveillance footage from a neighbor near Nicole's home. In it, a dark SUV is seen idling across the street from her house at least 5 different times in the weeks leading up to her death. The SUV was registered to a church-owned property, one Marcus Enders had access to. But this time, investigators had more than just circumstantial evidence. They had audio. A nearby home's Ring camera picked up faint voices from one of those nights. Enhanced by forensic technicians, the voices became clear. She's starting to get suspicious. Then it's time. 2 male voices. Calm, cold, familiar. Experts match one of them, without question, to Dr. Keller. Investigators reopened Keller's digital trail and discovered a hidden partition on his encrypted hard drive. Inside, a chilling folder titled Project M. M for Marcus? Inside were detailed psychological profiles. All of Keller's notes from his sessions with Nicole and with others. Women. 6 other women. All former patients of Keller's. And all had been romantically involved with Marcus Enders at some point. One of them had died by suicide 2 years earlier. Another had gone missing in 2016. Suddenly, Nicole's case wasn't just a one-off murder. It was part of a pattern. And Marcus Enders? He wasn't just a grieving ex-husband. He might be a serial predator. Then came the moment no one saw coming. 8 months after his disappearance, Dr. Keller resurfaced. In Mexico, alive, thin, pale, clearly shaken. He walked into the U.S. consulate in Guadalajara, demanding protection and confessing to everything. But what he said next would change everything. Dr. Keller didn't say he killed Nicole. He said Marcus did, and he claimed he had video proof. He recorded everything, every murder, every woman. He called it confession therapy. He made me watch. Then Keller passed investigators a flash drive. On it, dozens of files. Only one was labeled. It read, Nicole_final. The room was dead silent as detectives at the Charlotte Police Department inserted the flash drive into an evidence laptop. Dozens of files. Unnamed, untitled, no context, except one. Nicole_final. They opened the file. It began with static, then a dimly lit room. Nicole Harris sat on a chair. Her eyes were closed. She was breathing heavily, slouched like she'd been sedated. In the background, a voice, cold, deliberate, eerily calm. Marcus Enders. Confession therapy. Foreclosure. For forgiveness. The video was almost ritualistic. He circled her, whispered scripture, touched her face, and then, "Forgive me for what I'm about to do. You made me choose this." The video cut off abruptly, just before the act, but it was enough. Enough to confirm the worst. Enough to prove that Marcus did it himself. And enough to reopen every cold case connected to him. Detectives analyzed the remaining files on the flash drive. They weren't just random women. They were victims. Each woman had been connected to Marcus through church outreach programs, volunteer events, or counseling sessions. The pattern was undeniable. 2016, Kara Simmons, 28, went missing after a breakup with Marcus. Case ruled a disappearance. 2017, Melissa Crow, 32, found dead in her garage, ruled a suicide. 2018, Nicole Harris, murdered. 2019-2020. 3 more women who had all dated Marcus or received counseling through his church, all found dead under suspicious or ambiguous circumstances. Each video followed the same format: a drug victim, a confession recorded, a biblical quote, and Marcus carefully documenting his crime. But perhaps the most disturbing part, in several videos, a second man can be heard off camera giving instructions: Dr. Adam Keller. In a full recorded confession, Dr. Keller revealed the twisted inner workings of their partnership. Marcus had used the church as a front, not just for power and control, but as a pipeline for vulnerable women. Keller's role? Prescribe medication, gather intel, track their mental health. And when Marcus was done with them, Keller would make them disappear. It started with blackmail, but I stayed because I started to believe him. He said they were corrupted, that they tempted men of God, that we were chosen to purify them, and I believed it. He described Marcus as manipulative, messianic, sexually sadistic, a narcissist who convinced even educated people that murder was a form of spiritual salvation. But most chilling of all, Keller said Marcus didn't just kill to silence. He killed because he enjoyed watching their fear fade into surrender. News of the confession rocked Charlotte and the nation. Marcus Enders, once hailed as a savior of the community, was now being described by media outlets as the pastor predator. Hundreds of church members came forward with disturbing stories of control, sexual manipulation, and spiritual abuse. Several women said they had confided in Marcus about mental health struggles, only to be referred to his friend, Dr. Keller, for medication. He was hand-picking his victims through prayer meetings. One survivor said, "We thought he was leading us to God, but he was leading us to him." With the video evidence in hand and Keller now in protective custody, the FBI issued a federal arrest warrant for Marcus Enders. They stormed his luxury home at 3:46 a.m., but Marcus was gone. No signs of struggle, no broken locks. Surveillance cameras inside the home had been wiped clean. In the kitchen sat a half-finished glass of wine and a handwritten note. "You judged me for playing God, but God never stopped me. Maybe you're the ones who are wrong." Authorities believe Marcus fled the country, possibly using forged church documents and financial help from loyal members of his congregation. The trail went cold in less than 72 hours. But then, one final lead emerged. At a remote cabin in rural Georgia, an elderly man reported a suspicious visitor. Charming, soft-spoken, and traveling under a fake name. He left behind a forgotten duffel bag. Inside it, a passport under the name Daniel Cross. A burner phone with a single text message received just 48 hours earlier from an unknown number. The message read, "Project begins now. She's next." The discovery of the burner phone changed everything. Until now, authorities believe Marcus Enders was acting in retreat, running, hiding, maybe even trying to disappear. But the cryptic message left on the burner, "Project begins now. She's next," suggested something far more terrifying. Marcus wasn't done. He was planning another kill. And Project E? It wasn't random. Investigators quickly decoded the reference. In Marcus's digital archives, recovered from Dr. Keller's encrypted files, each victim had been labeled as a project. Pseudonyms used in the alphabet. Kara Simmons was Project A. Melissa Crow was Project B. Nicole Harris, Project M. That meant there were at least 12 other women before Nicole. And now, Project E was about to begin, with Marcus on the run and no clear target. Investigators scrambled to identify the next potential victim. They pulled every name, phone number, and file associated with Marcus and Keller's past activities. Cross-referenced counseling records, therapy notes, church intake forms. One name appeared 6 separate times across different files. Emily Dawson, age 27, a former addict, a single mother. She'd recently left a women's halfway house funded by Marcus's church. 2 years earlier, she'd sat in Dr. Keller's office during her recovery. She had expressed guilt about a past abortion and depression about her broken family. In Marcus's project list file, beside her initials, was a single chilling sentence. She's almost ready. Emily had no idea she was being hunted. She had started over, working at a diner in Nashville, living quietly with her 6-year-old son. When FBI agents arrived at her workplace to inform her she was a potential target in a serial murder investigation, she thought it was a joke, until they showed her Marcus's handwritten notes, until she saw her name, until she realized she had been watched for years. Agents placed Emily and her son in protective custody, but while she was being moved to a secure, safe house, something strange happened. She received a text from an unknown number. "You're not guilty anymore. I'll cleanse you. I'm close." The location of the burner phone that sent the message? Only 6 miles from the safe house. Back in federal custody, Dr. Keller was brought in to assist the FBI's behavioral team. When shown the message sent to Emily, he broke down. He hadn't seen or spoken to Marcus since Mexico, but he recognized the phrasing. That's what he used to say before a kill. He'd call it a spiritual reset. He believes they're lost souls, that he's freeing them. According to Keller, Project E wasn't just another murder. It was a symbolic one. Emily was the first woman Marcus had failed to seduce. He had offered her housing, money, even spiritual guidance, but she rejected him and left the church. To Marcus, that made her dangerous, because she knew. And now, he wasn't just hunting her, he was punishing her. At 2:11 a.m., just 4 days after Emily was relocated, federal agents monitoring her safe house heard a faint click at the back door. They moved in immediately, but by the time they reached the entrance, the door was open. Inside, Emily was asleep, unharmed, thanks to heavy sedation, but her son's bedroom window was cracked open, and under his pillow, agents found a handwritten note on church stationery. In the garden, Eve led Adam to sin. "I'm only here to correct her." That same morning, FBI cyber analysts pinged a new signal. Marcus's burner phone had been turned on briefly, just long enough to send one last message. Not to Emily, not to Keller. To someone saved in his contact list only as Lamb 13. The message read, "I need you to prepare the next one. She'll be harder to break." The location of the signal? A Bible college campus in Atlanta. The note under Emily's son's pillow was a final confirmation investigators needed. In the garden, Eve led Adam to sin. "I'm only here to correct her." Marcus Enders wasn't acting alone. He was working within a network, a twisted religious cult cloaked in spiritual language, tied together by trauma, manipulation, and control. They called themselves the Fold. And Marcus? He wasn't just a runaway murderer. He was their messiah. Digging through recovered files, chatroom logs, burner phone texts, and decades-old email addresses, federal investigators uncovered the existence of a hidden group Marcus had founded as early as 2012. The Fold operated in secret, buried within faith communities, Bible study groups, addiction ministries, youth retreats. Its language sounded spiritual, its rules strict, but its mission deadly. Women who tempted men, who sought divorce, who rejected submission, who lived in sin. These weren't sinners to be saved. They were projects to be cleansed. Every woman Marcus had murdered was labeled. Project A through M, Nicole Harris was M, and Project E. They realized a horror didn't mean Emily. It meant the fifth woman in a new cycle. There had already been 4. Further investigation revealed that several former Fold members had gone on to plant churches, lead recovery programs, and even counsel abuse survivors. But one name kept surfacing: Reverend Thomas Blythe, a seemingly respected professor of theology at Trinity River Bible College. Blythe once served under Marcus Enders in Charlotte. He vanished shortly after Marcus's first church was shut down. Now, he was mentoring a vulnerable young woman named Sarah Wills, a recent dropout from a foster care home with no family, no money, and no idea she was being groomed. Agents quickly moved to surveil Blythe. What they found was worse than expected. The FBI's Atlanta task force had placed Sarah in emergency protective custody after discovering her name on Marcus's encrypted files, labeled Project Epsilon. But the next night, she vanished. No signs of forced entry. Security footage showed a man in clerical clothes with clearance. He'd been posing as a trauma counselor assigned to Sarah by the FBI's own partner shelter. A background check revealed the truth. His real name? Daniel Sutter. But in fold records, he went by Lamb 13. 3 days later, an unlisted video was posted on a private darknet site associated with previous fold propaganda. It was only 18 seconds long. A black screen, soft organ music in the background, then a voice. The church failed. The courts failed. The doctor betrayed. But the garden will bloom again. Then the camera panned to a blurry image. A girl tied to a chair, her mouth duct taped, crying. It was Sarah. She was alive. But the timer in the bottom corner was counting down from 72 hours. Simultaneously, the FBI received an email from a hidden IP in South America. It was signed Only ME. Attached was a voice memo. The voice, unmistakably Marcus Enders, calm, confident, evangelical. Sarah is the seed. The world needs correction. And when it's over, there will be nothing left of your false justice. The fold is everywhere. You can't stop what you can't see. At the end of the message, a whisper. Tell Keller, I forgive him. When agents played the memo for Dr. Adam Keller, now under heavy sedation in a psychiatric wing after his failed suicide attempt, he broke down sobbing. Then, for the first time in weeks, he spoke. He's not going to kill her yet. He's going to make her confess. Keller said that every project had to go through 3 stages. Isolation, remove her from her world. Confession, force her to admit sin she never committed. Cleansing, the murder, recorded as redemption. The countdown wasn't random. It was how long Marcus gave each victim to break. Sarah had 72 hours to either confess or die, just as agents mobilized to track the video's origin. A tech analyst working overnight intercepted a disturbing transmission. Another video had just gone live on the dark web. This time, not from Marcus, but from someone inside the FBI's Atlanta task force. Their voice masked. Their message short. You're too late. You've always been too late. This time, she dies on God's terms. The second dark web video sent shockwaves through the FBI's Atlanta command post. You're too late. You've always been too late. This time, she dies on God's terms. But it wasn't just the message that disturbed agents. It was the audio watermark hidden deep in the background, a barely audible string of numbers, repeating like a code. When decrypted, it revealed a federal agent's badge number. Someone inside the FBI was helping Marcus Enders, and they just declared war. Badge number #F14382 belonged to Special Agent Craig Danner, an intelligence analyst assigned to the Atlanta Cyber Division. A clean record, married, churchgoer, family man. But a forensic sweep of Danner's personal devices uncovered something chilling. Encrypted backups of Fold communications, digital tracking logs of past female witnesses, and burner phone receipts purchased through proxy accounts. Danner wasn't just a mole. He was a founding lamb. And worse, when the team raided his home, he was gone. His wife and 2 children, still inside, alive, unharmed, but terrified. His wife left behind a letter, written in frantic handwriting. He said he had to return to the garden. That Sarah was the last fruit. He said the shepherd has risen. I don't know what that means. Until now, agents believed Marcus Enders was atop of the pyramid, the leader of the Fold. But then Dr. Adam Keller. trembling and barely coherent, whispered one sentence to his psych team. He's not the shepherd, he's the sword. According to Keller, Marcus wasn't the fold's true founder. The one who indoctrinated him, who taught him about cleansing, who developed the 3-stage ritual, who built the spiritual doctrine of suffering, was someone else entirely. A woman, Marcus's mother, Reverend Evelyn Enders, still alive and missing for over 2 years. Agents finally understood what the garden meant. It wasn't just a metaphor. It was real. A compound deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, once registered as a Christian holistic retreat for women in recovery. Closed in 2015 after multiple health code violations, the property was never fully investigated. When agents reviewed satellite images, they found signs of ongoing activity. Solar panels installed, smoke from chimneys, crops recently harvested. It wasn't abandoned. It was active, and it matched the GPS metadata from the dark web video that showed Sarah Wills tied to a chair. A federal task force mobilized at dawn, armed with Keller's psychological profiles and drone surveillance. They surrounded the perimeter of the garden retreat by 4:50 a.m. As they moved in, a drone caught a chilling image on thermal feed. Sarah, tied to a chair in the center of an open-air prayer circle. Around her, 9 hooded figures stood silently, and behind them, a 10th figure, tall, female, dressed in white, holding a Bible in one hand and what looked like a crucifix-shaped surgical blade in the other. Suddenly, all dark web feeds connected to the fold went live, streaming a single video worldwide. It was Evelyn Enders. To the daughters of Eve, you were warned. You were given the word, and you rejected it. So we offer you not death, but cleansing. May you return to the dust and purity. As she raised the blade, Sarah began to scream. Just as federal snipers received clearance to fire, the video feed cut to black. A message replaced the screen. You are not in control anymore. The fold lives in your cities, your churches, and your courts. This was only the trial. The real cleansing begins at Pentecost. The date of Pentecost? 2 weeks away. And according to Keller's final note, scrawled in a Bible margin, Pentecost is not the end. It's the release. The video feed had gone dark. Federal snipers waited for the green light. Tactical teams prepared to breach the garden, the remote cult compound in the Blue Ridge Mountains where Sarah Wills was being held captive. But the silence over comms was deafening. Then chaos. A sudden explosion rocked the rear side of the property. A timed charge triggered from within. It wasn't an attack on law enforcement. It was a distraction. As agents stormed the front entrance, they discovered something that stopped them cold. The prayer circle was empty. The chair where Sarah had been tied, still warm. The ropes, cut. The hooded figures, gone. No bodies, no blood, no Evelyn Enders. And just one item left behind, a silver cross necklace, still stained with Sarah's blood. Security footage from a nearby ranger station revealed a convoy of 3 black SUVs fleeing the mountains just 40 minutes before the breach. All had federal license plates, later confirmed as forgeries. The vehicles passed undetected through rural towns. No trace, no toll receipts, no gas station surveillance. Marcus Enders gone. Sarah Wills gone. And most disturbingly, Evelyn Enders, the true founder of the fold, had vanished with them. It wasn't a rescue. It was an evacuation. With the countdown now at 13 days, FBI counterterror units initiated Operation Edenfall, a full-scale domestic alert focused on preventing a mass casualty event timed with Pentecost Sunday. Why Pentecost? According to Fold's doctrine, Pentecost represented the flood of tongues, the day when divine truth spread freely to all nations. To Evelyn and Marcus, it symbolized something else. Release. They believed the world had become spiritually infected, and that on Pentecost, the fold would cleanse a chosen number of women to offer as blood sacrifice. The number? 12. 1 for each disciple. 12 names had already been flagged in fold communications, including women from court records, rehab centers, domestic shelters, and even law enforcement databases. Sarah Wills had been number 1. There were 11 more, using decrypted fragments from Keller's backups and Danner's digital logs. The FBI pieced together the names on the disciple list. Each woman had one thing in common. They had survived abuse and walked away. A police detective who left her abusive husband and exposed a corrupt department. A former pastor's wife who went public about years of marital rape. A teen girl who ran from a church camp and testified against its male leaders. A pregnant woman seeking asylum from her husband's cult. Each woman represented something Marcus and Evelyn loathed. Defiance, independence, surviving men like them. The agents had 13 days to find and protect every one of them. But by day 3, one of them was already dead. Then, on day 5, the unthinkable happened. A woman stumbled barefoot into an emergency room in Roanoke, Virginia. Malnourished, bruised, sedated. It was Sarah Wills. Alive, but silent. Doctors described her as catatonic. Physically stable, but psychologically shattered. She hadn't spoken a word since being admitted, except once. When nurses tried to undress her for examination, she whispered one sentence. "Don't take it off. He said it has to stay on till Pentecost." She was wearing a collar, an electronic one, not a GPS tracker, but something else, a timer, counting down to midnight on the morning of Pentecost. On day 13, the FBI braced for impact. They had secured 10 of the 11 remaining women on the disciple list, but one couldn't be found, the 12th woman. Her name wasn't in Keller's files, not in the FBI's registry, not on any digital record, until one analyst found a name hidden in Sarah's collar metadata, a name hard-coded into the device by whoever programmed the countdown. Not Sarah, not Evelyn, but the final offering. Her name was Maya Harris, Nicole Harris's daughter, only 8 years old. It was never about the women. It was about what they left behind. To be continued? That concludes the end of this arc, but perhaps the beginning of something even darker. The vehicles passed undetected through rural towns. No trace, no toll receipts, no gas station surveillance. Marcus Enders gone. Sarah Wills gone. And most disturbingly, Evelyn Enders, the true founder of the fold, had vanished with them. It wasn't a rescue. It was an evacuation. With the countdown now at 13 days, FBI counter-terror units initiated Operation Edenfall, a full-scale domestic alert focused on preventing a mass casualty event timed with Pentecost Sunday. Why Pentecost? According to the Fold's doctrine, Pentecost represented the flood of tongues, the day when divine truth spread freely to all nations. To Evelyn and Marcus, it symbolized something else. Release. They believed the world had become spiritually infected, and that on Pentecost, the Fold would cleanse a chosen number of women to offer as blood sacrifice. The number? 12. One for each disciple. 12 names had already been flagged in Fold communications, including women from court records, rehab centers, domestic shelters, and even law enforcement databases. Sarah Wills had been number 1. There were 11 more, using decrypted fragments from Keller's backups and Danner's digital logs. The FBI pieced together names on the disciple list. Each woman had one thing in common. They had survived abuse and walked away. A police detective who left her abusive husband and exposed a corrupt department. A former pastor's wife who went public about years of marital rape. A teen girl who ran from a church camp and testified against its male leaders. A pregnant woman seeking asylum from her husband's cult. Each woman represented something Marcus and Evelyn loathed. Defiance, independence, surviving men like them. The agents had 13 days to find and protect every one of them. But by day 3, one of them was already dead. Then, on day 5, the unthinkable happened. A woman stumbled barefoot into an emergency room in Roanoke, Virginia. Malnourished, bruised, sedated. It was Sarah Wills. Alive, but silent. Doctors described her as catatonic. Physically stable, but psychologically shattered. She hadn't spoken a word since being admitted, except once. When nurses tried to undress her for examination, she whispered one sentence. "Don't take it off. He said it has to stay on till Pentecost. She was wearing a collar, an electronic one, not a GPS tracker, but something else, a timer, counting down to midnight on the morning of Pentecost. On day 13, the FBI braced for impact. They had secured 10 of the 11 remaining women on the disciple list, but one couldn't be found, the 12th woman. Her name wasn't in Keller's files, not in the FBI's registry, not on any digital record, until one analyst found a name hidden in Sarah's caller metadata, a name hard-coded into the device by whoever programmed the countdown. Not Sarah, not Evelyn, but the final offering. Her name was Maya Harris, Nicole Harris's daughter, only 8 years old. It was never about the women. It was about what they left behind. To be continued, that concludes the end of this arc, but perhaps the beginning of something even darker. What are your thoughts on this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more stories, where each case isn't just about crime, but also offers a lesson for life.